had to overcome a lot, growing up poor or whatnot. And then I want to say this. So when you get pregnant, when you're a teen, people look at you a certain way. The words that are out there right now, you're a thought, you're loose and everything like that. I was not that. I was far from that. Matter of fact, the people that I grew up with that was like that, they're the ones that didn't have any kids. And I'm like, well, you know what? You get in the system or your child gets in the system.
Right.
And so I had to overcome my son, making sure that my son did not become a statistic.
Right. Welcome back to the Two Stubborn Affair podcast, where we tell stories about overcoming adversity. I am your host, Darren Perkins, and today we have the owner and the founder of Studio4Twelve Hair brand, the lovely Felicia Orange. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Darren. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for sitting down with me today and your willingness to have a conversation with me. What we like to kick it off with is where are you from?
I'm actually from, don't laugh, Southside, part of Sumter,
Okay.
South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why you say it like that?
Because they have their reputation or whatnot. However, though, I do know that good comes from the hood, like
Mhm.
Todd Tribbett says. So,
Right.
and of course, that I'm the good
Mhm.
that came from the hood. So,
And I think it's important it doesn't really matter like where you come from, but what you become.
exactly.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So how was it growing up there for you?
Ooh. And so I grew up poor.
Mhm.
So I grew up poor, whatnot, didn't have much. But other than that, it was, I came from a dad that, oh my gosh, worked so many jobs to make sure that we had what we needed or whatnot. And also, just to kind of skip ahead, but growing up, it was the normal that you would experience as a poor person. But however, though, I was actually a teen mom as well. So I had my first child when I was actually 16. But other than that, I actually, even though we grew up rough or whatnot, I actually had to say that I actually had pretty much a good life.
Okay. Good. It's kind of like you didn't know what you didn't have.
Exactly. But now I'm out of that. I'm like,
Amen.
no, I ain't going back.
Thank God for growth, man.
I ain't going back.
So, when did you start doing hair?
Okay, so I actually learned how to braid. Now, this is what my parents have told me, as well as my godmother. But I recall me being able to braid at the age of like 6 or 7, but they said it was as early as 5.
What?
So I actually learned how to braid when I was actually 5 years old. But actually getting out there and doing other people's hair, it was probably when I was about in 3rd or 4th grade. Actually, my mom babysat when we were growing up, and so I would actually do the young kids' hair that would come there or whatnot, and I loved it. I mean, I loved it. It was a passion of mine, and from there it grew.
So was it any money involved there?
It wasn't. No, it actually wasn't, and I didn't have a problem with it. I did not have a problem with it at all now. Now knowing what I know now, being connected to better people or whatnot, it was more so like, nah, get your money or whatever like that. But it was actually a true passion. Even with now, I pour back into the community a lot, and it's not always about money or whatnot. So, and that's the thing about when you find your passion, money is not the main objective, even though you get it or whatnot. But no, when I was growing up, doing hair that young, no, I didn't get paid.
Yeah. So when did you know? I know it started early for you, but when did you know you actually wanted to go ahead and get into the hair industry?
So I would have to say I fought it. I literally fought it. But I wanted to be an accountant and I wanted to do hair.
Ooh.
So I wanted to do both or whatnot. But then as I got older, I realized accountant had more money. The lifestyle or the business lifestyle, that's what I actually yearned for. And so, and then also whenever I had my son, when I got pregnant at 16, I kind of ventured away from doing hair because at that point it was like, okay, I got to do whatever I need to do to make sure I survive and keep a steady income. So from there, I kind of pivoted away from doing hair, even though it was something that I always kind of treated like it was a hobby, almost like it was very therapeutic for me or whatnot. And it was a passion, of course. You know, you can't really let go of your passion or whatnot. And so that's when I always had it, but it was like when family came first, it was more so like, no, I need to study income and I need more money than this or whatever like that. And so I just kind of pivoted away from that, but I went back to it when I moved to Columbia in 2006. So I went back to it a little bit in 2006, but dived into it a little bit more in 2006. So.
Okay. So having a kid young, I know you spoke about the monetary responsibility, but what are some of the other things that you have to basically grow up at that point, that you had to deal with once you became a young
mom? So I had to overcome a lot, you know, growing up poor or whatnot. And then I want to say this. So when you get pregnant, when you're a teen, people look at you a certain way. So they all for the words that are out there right now, your thought, you know, you're loose and everything like that. I was not that. I was far from that. Matter of fact, the people that I grew up with that was like that, they're the ones that didn't have any kids. And I'm like, well, you know what? But so I had to overcome that. I had to overcome the fact of I grew up around seeing things like that, but then their children, you get in the you either you get in the system or your child gets in the system. Right. And so I had to overcome my son, making sure that my son did not become a statistic or whatnot. Oh my gosh, that was so hard, Darren. That was very, very hard. And so just growing up like that, having my sister over here or whatnot, you know, she was a teen parent as well, and she's like the first person that I can really relate to, that I see come out gold as well. I mean, we're definitely not where we would want to be. However, though, we're better off than what we started, as well as we're better off than what most people would think that we would be at right now. You know, I want to say that I think her son just 25. I think just turned 25. So, and then my son, he will be 23 in February. And so it's like, you know, having someone else there in your corner to be able to have gone through something similar to you, but also we're not a statistic. That, oh my gosh, that actually empowers me all the more, and then also it just helps me to be able to push towards my dream as well. Even the more in the hair industry, I'm glad that things came back, you know, circle back around to me having the opportunity to be able to do what I do now, because it is because of my whole entire family, but mainly because this is the journey that I started out on when I was a little girl, you know, when I was actually a very young girl or whatnot, and I felt like I wasn't completing it, you know, because of how I grew up. We didn't have the money to be able to satisfy what was needed and required in order for me to be successful or whatnot. And then fast forward that along, I'm a teen mother, and I just had to kind of, sorry to be a little all over the place right now, but I'm speaking from the heart, but it's just that something that I know that I had to overcome. So.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome. Don't throw another curveball at me.
I won't. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Real Dope Photography is more than just dope photos. It's a celebration of your brand, beauty, and confidence at any stage of your life. Our goal is to capture the greatest moments in your life and the world around you. Visit our website at realdopephotography.com. That's realdopephotography.com. And the real is spelled REEL. You know, like a reel of film. Make sure you set up your free consult today. Mention the Too Stubborn to Fail podcast on your booking form in the How Did You Hear About Us section, and you can receive a 20% discount. All right, let's get back to the show. In being a young mom, and could you kind of explain, after you overcame that initial shock of being a young mom, like how was it just overcoming that for you?
Oh man, so it was tough. However, though, it was more so of, I guess, you know how you react off of adrenaline or whatnot. I have to say that now it seems like I acted off of adrenaline, and just being in survival mode. So, I mean, for right now, raising Rashawn or whatnot, because by the time he was 3, 4 years old, my second son was born. So I had two, by the time I was 20, I had 2 children. But even now, I raised him to have morals, as well as raising him from a single Christian woman as well. And so I always believed in the back of my mind, it was more so like, you're not a statistic at all, and I'm not a statistic. I know for sure I'm not a statistic or whatnot, and so I had to make sure that I ingrained that in myself. And that was more so because of how I was brought up. Like I told you before, that I grew up poor, but because I grew up poor, my dad we didn't really, like, some of the things I grew up as, you would never, if I told you some stories right now, you would be like, no way. Like, if you could, you would probably have to call CPS now because of how tough we grew up. Yeah. But the thing about it is, even though we grew up poor or whatnot, going to school, showing up every day, how I showed up, it didn't show. And so that was already ingrained in me. So just because I had a son when I was 16 years old, that don't mean we about to act like it. That's not how the image that we portrayed or whatnot. So fast forward, I mean, my son now, he's 20, he'll be 23 in February. He went to college. He graduated from high school on time. Graduated with from Lugoff Eldon High School with honors, and graduated at the top 10% of his class. And then he got a full scholarship to College of Charleston Honors, and he graduated with a BA in chemistry. Okay. So, and he graduated summa cum laude as well. So it's like those things like that. He's doing well. And my other children, my second son I was telling you about, he graduated from high school. He's now at college right now. Now it's 6 children later. So I have a big family or whatnot. But yeah, it was tough. However, though, we made it. We made do what we had to do or whatnot. But it was always that hustle. With the first 2 was always that hustle and grind and survive, to survive in mode, but also doing what was right, doing what was best, and making sure that, that he didn't look like he came from nothing. And I hate to say it like this, but some teen parents seem to have a more statistical or stereotype. That's what I'm looking for, a stereotype. And Rashawn would go to school or whatnot, and the way I raised him and just how he was as a kid, he was never the type to have, like, they would not be able to tell that your mom was a teen. Matter of fact, whenever he would say that whenever I would say that I have a son that's XYZ, and I'm like, hold on, how old are you? Because I always look like a kid. Like, even growing up as an adult, I still look like a teenager or whatnot. And then they were like, I would never thought that you had a child at 16 because the way your son, he's so mannerable, he's so this and he's so that or whatever like that. And I'm like, that's, that doesn't has anything to do with the fact that he's came from a teen mother. That's just about how you raise him. You could be 26 years old and have your first child, and things can go haywire. You can be 16, have your first child, and things not be haywire. So that's the way things were, and that's how we are.
That is a powerful story. Yeah. I appreciate you sharing.
And that's just to sum it up.
Yeah. we kicking this thing off with a bang. I can definitely identify with a lot of what you shared already. Being that my mom had me at 26, and well, you weren't 26, but my mom had me at 26, and my father was incarcerated. So she ended up pretty much not a single parent, but without a dad in the household, because I still had my grandparents, I still had my aunt, but she raised me in a way that I never looked for a male figure in anybody else. Okay. She raised me never to be resentful to my dad, and never to harbor any bad feelings because he wasn't there. So she did a good job of, and like you said, with your son, nobody could ever tell that I didn't have anything. I was still mannerable, I still, was good in the community. I never let anybody know that, hey, this kid needs a dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So it says something to you as a person to be able to endure all of that and still raise respectable young men, because that is not an easy task.
Oh, it's not.
So I commend you for that.
It's not.
Yeah. But just to continue the conversation in a more lighter topic, we're going to get back to the hair industry. In specific, I understand that you have a specialty in dealing with natural hair. Do you have any tips or tricks for anybody, or tips or tricks for people that they should know when dealing with natural hair?
So the first thing I will always say is that I like to tell others is that all hair is good hair as well. I know that, growing up in the natural hair industry, even as a little girl, natural hair was something like kind of sort of frowned upon. Mm-hmm. We resorted to relaxers early on, and then it was like almost like an evolution or whatnot, and we just kind of evolved and now we really are embracing our natural hair. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, because we are just now coming into really embracing our natural hair. And when I say just now coming into, I'm not talking about like within the last year. I'm talking about within the last few last couple decades or whatnot. We have to really make sure we're being patient. Oh my gosh. We have to really make sure that we're being patient with our natural hair, because I think that if we're really being patient with our natural hair, and it will literally take us far, letting us know that, hey, just because sister so-and-so may have this particular curl pattern and that density and that length or whatnot, and then you may say that, I want my hair to be like that. And so it can be like that. However, though, it takes patience. Everybody doesn't have the DNA that where your hair grows 2 inches in 1 month, whatnot like that. So, and we may not have the curl pattern. As soon as we go to put water on it, it's just like, oh man, wow. We may have to get the detangling brush and a little bit of product or whatever like that, and really caress that hair or whatnot, and really talk to the hair or whatnot with our hands and with the products or whatnot, in order for it to be the best that it can be. So my thing is definitely, oh my gosh, patience. I cannot emphasize that the most, patience, because that is one of the things that I would say that people lack the most of is patience with their natural hair. Now, as far as a more tangible tip is making sure that you get yourself connected. If you're not going to be connected with the actual natural hair stylist, at least take the time to learn from someone in the profession, so that way you can do it at home. So I know not everyone that can afford to, or may not want to, or may not have the means. Either they don't have the means or they don't have the time to actually go into a salon all the time. So with that being said, that doesn't mean that you can't have hair that flourishes and is healthy as at home. And so with that being said, it's like making sure that you take the time and thing about the great thing about now versus years ago is that we have a lot of things available at the comfort of our cell phone on the digital side of things. So it's nothing to go online to YouTube or just to go on Instagram and look for a stylist there, pull up their page and see that, hey, they offer a course in this or whatever like that. So let me click on it. Me, myself, that's what I do. I've used to be behind the chair or whatnot. That's what I do now. I provide consultations. That's just something I do. I help people to help themselves with their hair or whatnot. So that would be more tangible tip, is just making sure that you get in front of someone, either in their chair, like get in their chair, or actually get connected with someone in the actual industry, so that way you can actually take care of your hair the best that you can.
Okay, those were some good tips. Thank you for that. I want to touch on the topic that you touched on. I know you noticed, as far as the trends are concerned, natural hair is more, I would say, acceptable, or more people are willing to wear their hair natural these days versus in the past. What do you think is the reason for that?
For one, I think it's enough people doing it, for one. And I hate to say it that way, but it's like, we do follow trends. It does not matter at all what we may say or not say or whatever. We do follow trends, because if wearing your hair as an afro, like actual afro, was pretty much the trending thing, you will probably see a lot more people doing that. Same thing as braids, braids or whatever. So I think it's more so of a trend, but also too, it's what another reason why I believe that a lot of us has gone the natural thing is realizing the harm that the chemicals have done. So that is more on the broader spectrum, but in a more deeper spectrum, but definitely those chemicals that have been put into the relaxers, and that has caused women to have fertility issues, and then things that they have now are suffering with alopecia at young ages or whatever like that. And that's because of the things that were done to our hair. And then we just realized, you know what? Like, it's almost like I don't give a like I'm just gonna embrace myself, right. and this is what I want. This is who I am. This is who I am. You either accept it or you don't. And it's crazy that it is like that, but I love it. I love the fact that we can now embrace ourselves of who we are, embrace our hair texture, regardless of how it may feel, look, or whatnot, and be the best that we can. And then everybody else around is accepting it. Laws are being overturned, or laws are being built upon our actual hair, like some of the laws that they've created in California now, where you can't be discriminated because of how you wear your hair. And that's the first step forward, and that's going to eventually, it's going to be like that all over the U.S. I'm praying for that anyway. So,
all right, well, thank you for that. This has been an amazing conversation so far, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Built on a passion and love for art, All Things Design is here to create spaces you will love, and custom designs and memories that will last a lifetime. All Things Design specializes in event design, interior design, corporate design, custom design projects, and home closet organization. And that's just to name a few. Communication is key. We're here for whatever you need. We'll help you solidify your vision and keep in constant contact until your dream is realized. All Things Design, a step above the rest. Be sure to book at allthingsdesign.org. All right, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to the Too Stubborn to Fail podcast, where we tell stories about overcoming adversity. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Today we have Felicia Orange in the building. And just to continue the conversation, Felicia, what's your work-life balance like?
Is that even such a
right?
Oh man, so work-life balance. Actually, you know what? Now it is a little bit smoother, especially with me not being behind the chair any longer. So that has definitely that's better. That's a lot better now. and then because everything I do now is more so most things that I do now is on the virtual side, digital things. So that has actually allowed me to have a lot more balance, especially with having 6 children, whatnot. That has definitely helped me to have a lot more balance. Now, prior to that, no. it was bad. It was bad working 12 to 15-hour days or whatnot. As a matter of fact, that's another story, but that's the reason that has brought me to where it's like, you know what, Felicia, decompress. God has something else for you. You really need to go ahead and embrace what God has for you next or whatnot, because working those long hours or whatnot, not having a work-life balance. I'm gonna just be honest with you. I did not have a work-life balance. I just had work balance. Right. Work. And it took a toll on my body physically or whatever, and to a point where now I have stenosis, cervical stenosis or whatnot in the neck. And so because of that, I don't do hair like that I still do hair, but not like that behind the chair any longer. Right. But that has afforded me the opportunity to be able to be at home more with my family or whatnot, and so now I do have a work-life balance or whatnot. Now things are about to take off, so I've learned my lesson. I've learned my lesson. Things are about to take off now, so I just have to make sure that I be more mindful. Schedule out the time when it's time to rest. Make sure I'm resting, not just when I'm resting for I stopped doing hair or whatever like that, but I'm at home doing 1,000,001 things or whatever like that, or I don't have time for me. You know, making sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, whether it's getting a chiropractic adjustment, massage. Please, y'all, get a massage. Please get a massage. But making sure that, you know, you're taking care of your mental health. So that is privy on my list. So that's how I afford the opportunity now to have. I can honestly say that I have a work-life balance now. Now things just like a balance beam or whatever like that. Things seem to go like this or whatever. Like let me get like no. So you start doing things like that or whatever like that. But then you have to make sure that you're getting it back balanced as much as you can.
You actually took one of my questions, because I was going to ask you how you went about securing that me time for yourself. But I can say for me, you know, one of my guilty pleasures is getting pedicures. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Take care of your feet, fellas,
my God, please take care of your feet. Oh my goodness.
So that's my me time. That's how I secure my me time.
That's good.
But
oh yeah. So but just to answer a little bit of your question, a little bit more. So I wholeheartedly believe in therapy. I honestly, you know how everyone has. You're supposed to go to the doctor once a year for a physical, whatever. It should be you gotta go to a therapist once a year. You should. I mean, nothing has to be wrong or per se for you to actually go get some type of counseling or therapy or whatever. It could just be able to go in there, vent, and to say that, hey, you're doing a good job, or some ways that you can kind of finagle things a little bit better so you can have that better life-work balance or whatnot. So I do truly believe in therapy, counseling, massage, even so the therapy may not look like you're sitting down talking with someone or whatnot like that, but massage, I get chiropractic adjustments, I got to, or whatnot, but other than that, and then I also take time for myself in other ways, like get my nails done or whatnot. I love retail therapy. I love retail therapy.
That word,
I love retail therapy. So this just making sure that you take time out for yourself so that way you're making sure that you're the strongest and the best that you can be. So that way that can roll over and spill over into other areas of your life. So yeah.
I definitely understand. And just to touch on something that you brought up, mental health is important.
Oh, yeah.
We have to make sure that our mental is intact, because if we can't take care of ourselves, then we can't take care of other people. And we can't, if you want to pour into somebody else's cup, your cup has to have something in it.
Exactly.
So it's important for us to have that conversation with either a professional or somebody. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be a professional, but you need to talk to somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't necessarily even have to be an event, as much as just letting somebody know how your day was.
Exactly.
Because I think we internalize a lot of things as men, and even not even as men, but as our people, we tend not to talk a lot about a lot of things.
Oh,
we
yeah.
kind of hold a lot in.
Yeah.
And as you know, that can kill you.
Exactly, it sure can. And then also what you were saying as men, but also as we have the perception of strong black woman or whatever, a strong black man, and it's almost like when you see us cry or you may see us at a quote unquote breaking point or whatnot, we may be looked at as soft, vulnerable. Oh, they may not look at me as having it all together. I'd be like, man, child, y'all just saw me cry, right? So it's like things like that. It's like anybody got time for that? I got time for my to be in my right mind and my mental health. And if I gotta cry, if I gotta vent, or if I gotta go see someone or whatnot like that, I'm still strong.
Right.
But people that are strong, they still have their weaknesses, or even if they don't have very many weaknesses, they can still learn and still grow from having someone to help them to be that strong person.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
And it's nothing, like you said, it's nothing wrong with letting somebody know what's going on.
Yeah.
And getting out of your feelings.
Oh yeah.
Because there's no money in your feelings.
It's not.
But just to keep the conversation moving, do you have any tips for any parents that have their own business?
So tips for parents that own businesses. First would be to if you can, is making sure that you get your family involved. So making sure that you get your family involved, because that can help out on the business expenses side of things too. But especially depending on what kind of business that you run, if you're looking to turn it into like a family business or something that you want to be able to maybe not be like a really family business, but them to be able to learn from you in some way or shape or form, because they don't really teach entrepreneurship in high school or whatever like that. So a lot of the things that we learn is out there by experience or whatever. So what better way is just by getting them involved. Right. That's the first thing, is making sure that you involve them at some point, at some point somehow or whatnot. Even if they're not going to actually tangibly do your books or help you do hair or something like that, if they can see the process, I hate to say it, but see you stressed out. so that way so they can see the reality of things or whatnot. But also I really believe that getting them involved is really something that is important. And that's probably the only thing I can think of at the tip of my tongue was making sure that you get them involved.
Okay, well, that was great tips. I thank you for sharing that with me. We're about to go on our last break, and when we come back, we'll go ahead and go over the two-step in the fail moment, and we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
So we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors. Built on a passion and love for art, All Things Design is here to create spaces you will love and custom designs and memories that will last a lifetime. All Things Design specializes in event design, interior design, corporate design, custom design projects, and home closet organization. And that's just to name a few. Communication is key. We're here for whatever you need. We'll help you solidify your vision and keep in constant contact until your dream is realized. All Things Design, a step above the rest. Be sure to book at allthingsdesign.org. All right, let's get back to this show. Welcome back to the Two Step in the Fail podcast, where we tell stories about overcoming adversity. I am your host, Darren Perkins, and today we have the lovely Felicia Orange in the building. Just to continue the conversation, what I like to wrap every interview up with is a two-step in the fail moment. Basically, a moment where you had to overcome adversity that sticks out to you the most. What would be one of those moments for you?
So I've had one recently, probably a few years ago, where I had a pivot. So I was pretty much in business or whatnot, and I had a pivot, and open up pretty much almost like so I'm literally doing business and I had to stop in the middle of doing business and actually find another place to home my business. So I was at home or whatnot with my business, and literally abruptly I could not do business anymore at my home for HOA reasons. And I'm literally like freaking out or whatever, and I'm calling my sister and I'm like, and I'm telling her this is what's happening, and she's like, breathe, and she was like, well, you got someone to take care of my baby. At the time he was 4 or 5 months old or whatnot, and I really didn't have anywhere for him to go, and babysitting wasn't an option financially. It wasn't an option or whatever, and so she took charge and had him, and I'm literally out there like, I don't know a thing about running a salon. I don't know where to look or whatnot, and truth, it was almost like God was like, get out there, he was like, get out there or whatever like that, and that's what I had to do. And so it was a lot of aversion there because of not knowing how to run a salon, not having the financial means for the building, not even know where I was going to be at or whatnot. I had was 6 kids at the time, and all of them at that point was home. So it was like, gosh, man, I really don't know what to do. But I just did it. As I took one day at a time. One day at a time. I literally took one day at a time, and I just did it. And fast forward, and I was like, even though the salon is closed now, I'm like, gosh, I cannot believe I overcame. I literally still can't believe I overcame it or whatever. So that would be one way that I overcame adversity, and it was fast. That came at me very fast. I'm talking about one day was like this, and then the very next day was like, no, you like, I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't just stop. Like, it was almost like getting fired from a job, and you just had to start over or whatnot. So that's how I had overcome that adversity or whatnot during that time of having to pivot into my own salon. But that was a growing point for me or whatnot, because I am who I am right now today, and I would not have gotten this far if it wasn't for that particular moment. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that moment. That was really, I could tell that really meant a lot to you.
Oh yeah.
So I appreciate you for sharing that. Before we get out of here, how can the people find you? Anything that you have to promote, social media platforms, anything, the floor is yours.
All right, so you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Studio4Twelve Hair, and that is studio, the number 4, and then 12 spelled out, TWELVE hair. And also my website at www.studio4twelve.com, same way how you spell with the Instagram and the Facebook. So studio4twelve.com, and if you click on, I want to say it's the first or second button, you can actually subscribe to my email list, because from there, anything that comes new to Studio4Twelve, you'll be the first to know about it. Even though I'm not behind the chair right now, that is the best way for you to be able to get in my chair, is just sign up to be a model or whatnot, and from there you get either free or reduced services by being a model. For whenever I go to create content, courses or whatnot. And so anything that I go to come out with or launch, far as courses, consultations, it can all be found at studio4twelve.com.
All right. So the last thing that I like to leave people with, do you have any last words, last remarks, or words of encouragement to leave us with today?
I would say that never give up. Just never give up. Always put your, even if you, I know it sounds cliche, but a lot of people say put your best foot forward, and you may be at a point where I don't know what my best foot forward. Just put a foot forward. Just put a foot forward, and just never give up, and just make sure that you're taking care of yourself.
Okay. Well, there you have it. We had just finished another amazing episode of the Too Stubborn to Fail podcast. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Today we had Felicia Orange in the building. I appreciate you stopping by. You gave a very heartfelt testimony, and I look forward to watching it and it helping people.
Thank you.
So, thank you for being here today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I am Darren Perkins, and we are Too Stubborn to Fail.